Today's top stories at NBR. Infrastructure Commission urges MPs not to abandon PPPs. A failed appeal over planting trees unmasks future legal action. New Zealand's economy rebounded in late 2021. And there's more coming right up. Kia ora and welcome to NBR Today, 100% subscriber funded and proudly brought to you by you, as is every story at nbr.co.nz. It's Thursday, March 17th. I'm Paul Brennan. Thanks again for joining us. Higher costs, including for milk supplies, have eaten into Fonterra's half-year profits, but the dairy giant has again announced an interim dividend and is sticking to its full-year earnings forecast. Net profit for the 6 months to January was $364 million, down from $391 million for the same period a year earlier. Revenue rose 10% to $10.59 billion. The co-op declared an interim dividend of 5 cents a share, the same as last year. Chief Executive Miles Hurrell said, "Our earnings have been achieved at a time when our input costs have been significantly higher, with the average cost of milk up almost 30% on the same time last year, and that this shows we're performing well even with a high farm gate milk price." Fonterra also announced the departure of Chief Financial Officer Mark Rivers after 4 years in the job. He'll be leaving the co-op after its annual meeting at the end of the year. The Infrastructure Commission, Te Waihanga, has urged MPs not to abandon public-private partnerships simply because of the delays in opening Transmission Gully north of Wellington, which is one of the country's largest infrastructure projects. Both the Commission and the Auditor-General's Office appeared before Parliament's Transport and Infrastructure Select Committee today, Thursday, to discuss reports they have done on the troubled motorway project. Infrastructure Commission Chief Executive Ross Copland said an interim report done on behalf of the Commission had found the governance structure of the project did not have the desired transparency, but he was adamant the troubles with Transmission Gully should not be used to argue against PPPs. A failed appeal over planting trees has unmasked future legal action from Winton Land over the future of its Ayrburn Farm Waterfall Park project, but the company says it is par for the course. Earlier this month, Winton subsidiary Waterfall Park Developments attempted to appeal an Environment Court decision made last year that found its planting of a 305-metre line of Leyland cypress trees was not a farming activity, but rather landscaping and needed consent. Speaking to NBR, Winton Chief Executive Chris Meehan said the company had secured resource consent for a 380-room hotel and associated conference and wellness facilities. 2 people involved in a market manipulation case brought by the Financial Markets Authority against directors of Oceania Natural have been ordered to pay penalties totalling more than $300,000. Last month, a civil lawsuit alleging market manipulation between 2016 and 2017 against 4 defendants tied to Oceania Natural, an exporter of bottled water which was listed on the now-defunct NXT share market in 2016, began in the High Court at Auckland. The 4 defendants were ONL Executive Chair and Chief Executive Wei Walker Zhong, ONL Marketing Director Lei Regina Ding, ONL Director Zhong Yang Sean Meng, and Chartered Accountant Zhixian Sam Kwan. The FMA filed the lawsuit in April 2019 with 15 causes of action. New Zealand's economy rebounded in the 3 months to the end of December after a 3.6% contraction in the previous 3 months. Statistics New Zealand said gross domestic product rose 3% in the December quarter as COVID-19 restrictions eased. On an annual basis, GDP was up 5.6%. The second half of the September quarter had been marked by a nationwide alert level 4 lockdown. While the lockdown continued in Auckland and Waikato into the December quarter, the rest of the country faced looser restrictions. Retail trade was up 10.7% and restaurants up 6.7%. Accommodation was down largely due to the continued lack of international tourists. On an annual basis, the services sector rose 5.6%. New Zealand has seen a 25% increase in fixed wireless broadband connections over the past year, with 276,000 customers now accessing their internet via the technology, effectively cutting out the country's fibre optic networks. The Commerce Commission's latest annual telecommunications monitoring report, released this morning, Thursday morning, notes that New Zealand ranks 4th in the OECD for the number of fixed wireless broadband internet connections per 100 people, behind the Czech Republic, the Slovak Republic, Republic and Estonia. Fixed wireless speeds averaged at 35.2 megabits across a 24/7 period, according to the Commission's spring monitoring report in December, while Fibre 100 plans averaged 100.9 megabits and Fibre Max plans averaged 836.1 megabits. In total, 64% of Kiwi connections were via fibre, 15% on fixed wireless, 18% by copper, and 2% via satellite and cable. The full details of those stories and more are at nbr.co.nz right now. Tomorrow at NBR, in his weekly column, Tim Hunter looks at the Russia Sanctions Act and unfinished business, while Brent Edwards talks with outgoing National MP Simon Bridges about what his commercial future might hold. Infrastructure and technology are interests, he says. I'm Paul Brennan. Join me again from around lunchtime tomorrow for the morning's NBR trending stories. Then right here from 5:30 and through the weekend for another NBR This Week.